There's so much more to understand. And that's why I want to, move forward. And at the same time, I'm not going to be knocking myself down for not yet being ready to understand what I already understand. And I'm going to celebrate that. So there has to be that healthy balance between the two. But at the same
Does the
time, we are
mitzvah? Okay.
naturally inclined to one or the other. Like it's a natural, some of us are more right brainers and some of us more left brainers, right? Like it's just the way we are. So, you know, like we need to know our milas and chesronos in a way, like what is our advantages and also our shortcomings so we don't go into a delusion. So we honestly could, see it ourselves. But I think, in our generation, we do tend more to knock ourselves down, but that's already a Yetzer Hara, right? Why? Because whatever stops a person from doing what needs to be done, no matter what beautiful clothing it may, garments it may put on, even a Hasidic garment, right? If it's creating a situation where a person is not going to do what he needs to do, all the explanations why, as Hasidic as it may sound, that's not coming from a pure source. That's a distraction. So if a person feels, oh, I'm never going to get it, this is so complicated, forget about it, blah, 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 that's not coming from pure source because now a person is going to stop doing what they need to be doing. Right? Or a person say, who cares? Who needs it? I already understand it. That's also not coming from pure source. Whatever it is, if we narrow it down and we see what's the end result of this thought process, and if the end result, sit down and don't do anything, then we know that it's not coming from the right place.
Does the Mitzvah
Okay.
Rebbe do it on purpose? Does the Mitzvah Rebbe do it on purpose? Does the Mitzvah Rebbe put for each of us, because in a way he's relating to he's writing for everybody, but he's writing for each of us at that moment and having a personal relationship with that moment. So at any moment when we're learning, does the Mitzvah Rebbe make sure there are parts that we can understand, and then all of a sudden we come to a part that we can't understand, and he does that on purpose because he wants us to
For sure, because
have
then we
both,
will
a
not
balance of
grow.
both.
Yeah, because what will happen if we will understand everything? What's going to happen? We're going to become big yesh. Whoa. By the way, I'll never forget this beautiful encounter when I just first started learning Shar Yichud. When there was one mom in my school, we were like, talking about, she's like, yeah, what is this? Blah, blah. I said, oh, by the way, we started, a whole new round of Shar Yichud. If you want to join, she was, very intellectual and very, you know, like this type of thing. And then she's like, I already studied it in seminary. And I don't know why, but I was so taken back from it. I'm like, what do you mean you studied it? I said, yeah, I mean, there are people that, yeah, I studied it already. Well, what do you mean? You need a lifetime to study this. Like, no matter how many times I go into it, there is so much that comes up. It's endless, right? But why do you think a person is saying it? Some people study Chassidus just b'skir achas, I'm just going to read it. I'm going to get a general idea about it. What is Shar Yichud? Oh, yeah. Shar Yichud is about Seder Ishtalshalos. Very nice, very deep work. And that's it. And then they close the book and then they step out. That's fine. Right? But that's not their chrat. That's a very holistic way of learning. And unfortunately, many people learn that way. And they're okay with it. And fine, it's already Hashem's cheshbon what's going on. But is it going to really impact our life to a point where we actually going to start seeing godliness? I'm not sure. That's why the Mittel Rebbe in chapter 5, I believe, or 4, I'm not sure which chapter. I think one of those Shawan is talking about the polarities of, pain and simcha. The other chapter is talking about the prat and klal. I'll bring you the exact quote in the Mittel Rebbe, right? Not Reb Hill, in the Mittel Rebbe, where he says, whenever a person studies b'derech klal, okay, he might fool himself that he understands. whatever the story is, right?
Okay.
Whatever the subject matter is. But it will, the subject matter, okay, will look very far. Meaning the subject matter of what we are learning is Hashem. Meaning we could become very intellectual by learning with Derech Klal, but Hashem is still going to be far from us. Meaning we're not going to be experiencing God. The whole advantage of learning b'derech prat, the way we are learning right now, as much as possible, as much as our kelim allow to learn b'derech prat, right? Because we don't want to kill the joy and be, way too technical. Now, what's the mile of it? The mile of it is that Hashem is much closer to you because you're breaking it down. You're breaking the pieces of information in much smaller details, right? A little detail matters a lot. So b'derech prat creates, may not necessarily give us like big wow moments, although it does. But the goal is not to get this high and wow, as usually we feel by the klalim. Wow, girls, you know what? Hashem is everything. Everything is Hashem. And you're like, oh, really? Wow, and all of that's amazing, right? Then you go home and you cannot find parking, and then where's Hashem in that situation? But whenever we do b'derech prat, specifically, starting with Memalikol Almin, right? That's, the introduction, is that we allow that Hashem to reveal himself because truly, it's like a relationship, right? Like you want to know your spouse in details, not just in general. Like usually the spouses, they know what color shirt they like, what type of food they like, and all the details, what temperature, what music, and all these details, right? So, I mean, the wife and the husband, they don't appreciate when people know, like, oh, she's a nice lady. You don't want that, right? You want details. And that's exactly from Hashem's perspective. When you know somebody, you know the details. You just know in general about them. Can you imagine a couple lives for 50 years? What can you say about your wife? Oh, she was just a nice lady. No. Like, hello. You want to live for 50 years with somebody knowing much more than just a nice lady. And that's a very holistic, statement. So the same thing is with Hashem. And in Shir Hashirim, this is, pretty much what, comes is that there's desire to be known in detail. And that's when we actually know a person, right? So it's very similar. So Hashem wants us to know in details. This is how I create Hashem. This is the structures I create. These are the mashalim, and the more details we know, the closer that relationship becomes also with people, right? The more I know about my spouse, the more I know, the deeper the relationship is. Okay, we're gonna start.
Okay.
That was like, a 15-minute intro.
Okay, so just to give us a context of where we are, we're really beginning this process of, as Mila's talking about, of really going into the details. And we're starting with Yehuda Tata, where we're looking at Mimale Kol Almim, which is the worlds of Bia, the created worlds, the worlds that were created Ayin-mi-yesh. And Reb Hillel keeps kind of giving us an introduction and another introduction, but he's really priming us so that when we get to the answer, which actually we start to get to in paragraph 8, we really are a vessel for it. We're building our vessel to receive the answer. So I think that's also one of the reasons why 2 paragraphs ago he spoke about the philosophers and put forward a question. I think it's really meant to evoke in us the question, which in some ways, unfortunately, we just kind of cover over the question. But if we think deeply, this was 2 questions of the philosophers that now Reb Hillel is coming to answer. And the philosophers were basically saying, how can something that is unlimited creates something that's limited. Because the cause and the effect, like the one who creates and that which is created, there has to be something similar between them. And something that's an ayin creating a yesh just doesn't make any sense. So they say, how is it possible that God can be unlimited and create a limited world? That was their first question. And then the second question was, okay, maybe let's accept that is possible, but then how can you say that Hashem doesn't change? Because before creation, he was alone, and now he's not alone. There's a creation. And before creation, Hashem was not enclosed in anything. He wasn't animating anything. And now he's enclosed in the creation. So there must be a change in him. So they have these two questions. And in a way, we need to sit and think for a moment about those two questions so that we begin to have those questions. Because I think unconsciously we have them, but maybe we don't know how to articulate them. Like, how is it possible for there to be a creation, something limited that's coming from something unlimited? Like, my brain can't just understand that. And how can Hashem not have changed from having created a world? Because now he's not alone, and now he's animating something, he's enclosed in it. So then Reb Hillel starts to talk to us about the fact that our brain, the philosopher, our limited brain, really only understands Yesh-mi-yesh, because that's how we function in this world. Whatever we create, we don't create from nothing to something. Even if, maybe I create a painting, but the brushes and the paint and the canvas, they all exist. So I'm creating something new that's a yesh, but it's using existing materials. There's nothing in my experience that can help me to understand Yesh-mi-yesh. So then in the last paragraph 7, he started to explore the world of our experience, which is Yesh-mi-yesh Gashmi and Yesh-mi-yesh Ruchni. And Mila did a beautiful drawing, like a, what would you call it? A diagram to help us just understand that. And we put it on the chat. Oh, okay, there it is. Where you have, he called this, we're giving it a name, Shefa. Shefa is Yesh-mi-yesh. And then we're going to learn about light, or which is a different kind of transmission, Yesh-mi-ayin. And first of all, we really have to understand very well what is Yesh-mi-yesh, so that we really understand the problem. So we learned about Yesh-mi-yesh Gashmi and Yesh-mi-yesh Ruchni. And I'm not going to go through it right now because I think we want to go into breakout rooms, and you'll do chavruta on this paragraph so that you come out and you really understand it for yourself very clearly. And if it would be nice also if you would come out just with a 3-line summary of this paragraph. So Mila, let's do that. We'll go into the breakout rooms.
Yes, you have this, maybe we will share it in the chat as well.
Okay. Okay, so we're back from the breakout rooms.
Yeah. Hi, we did not finish, but we did not, but we almost finished. We got to the place that he's saying like that. The Yesh-mi-yesh, the difference between Yesh-mi-yesh Gashmi and Yesh-mi-yesh Ruchani, that in the Yesh-mi-yesh Gashmi, there is a lack after one gives. In the Yesh-mi-yesh Ruchani, there is no lack. It's just that it illuminates the Mekabel, just like a light illuminates the room, and then you could see what is there. However, There is it does affect the mashpia in the sense that when the mashpia gives over, his mind is occupied with a particular topic and not with something else. Then he goes back to being whatever he was before. Unlike Yesh-mi-yesh Gashmi, that after the Ashpa'ah, it's not like he was before. If he gave money, he's lacking the money. If the water was one place and went to another place, it's not there. And now he says everything is because the mashpia and the mekabel are be'erech one to another. They're comparable. They're on whatever. The mashpia is mugbal, limited, and the mekabel is limited. And this is a little bit where we finished. We didn't finish the whole thing.
Okay. Thank you. I think that was a very good summary.
Thank you.
And in a way, it makes us think about something that maybe we don't really think about. You know, like, did you ever think about this difference between Yesh-mi-yesh Gashmi and Yesh-mi-yesh Ruchni? So he's building a vessel here for us. Now, in paragraph 8, the first half of the paragraph, or the first third of the paragraph, in the beginning, he says, okay, now we're going to talk about or, because right now, all you learned about in paragraph 7, we call shefa. That's the name that it's called, shefa. And shefa is yesh-mi-yesh, either gashmi or ruchani. So now he says, okay, now I'm going to teach you about or. How does or function? How do you go from an ayin to a yesh? But then before he does that, he qualifies this idea of the teacher giving over to the pupil and emphasizes another detail before he goes into Yesh-mi-ayin. And it's kind of interesting because I was saying I was doing it with Mila and was saying, well, it seems like in paragraph 7, he said everything he needed to say. Sarah explained it really well. Okay, so we understand. That's the way it is. Maybe we never thought about it, but now it kind of opens up your mind and you're like, oh, okay, wait a minute. I never thought about the idea that, you know, there can be a transmission and it's yesh-mi-yesh, but it has a ruchni kind of feel to it. So in the beginning of this next paragraph, he really talks to us about the fact, I think he's answering a question that we might have, which is like, well, wait a minute. The intellect, when it's in the teacher's head, can you really say it's a yesh? Like, maybe it's an ayin. Why are you saying it's yesh-mi-yesh ruchni? Why is it a yesh even? Because it's intellect. It's not. Is it an entity? Is it a yesh in the teacher's mind? So this is what he comes in the beginning of this next paragraph to kind of sharpen the definition. Mila, over to you.
Hello. Okay, so we're going to begin. It's definitely, you know, what you said, Neria, very much so, because we might think like, okay, he established this ground. He told us that it's, you know, there's 2 types of shefa. One type of shefa is gashmi. The other type of shefa is ruchni. And yeah, he left us with a question last week where is like, hey, if the shefa is ruchni, why is it yesh-mi-yesh? Okay. And this is like a real question. Like, how is the seichel in the head of the mashpia is in a state of yesh? So he's refining our thinking, because when we think about yesh to yesh, we truly think in most terms yesh-mi-yesh gashmi. I have $1, I give it over. I have a computer, I give it over. I have no longer a computer. I need to buy a new one, you know, and so on and so forth, right? So we operate mostly on Gashmi, and it's a fact, right? So now he's refining our thinking that even in Ruchnius terms, there is something which is called Yesh. And what is it? Come on, let's revive our first chapter, okay? Because first chapter is the seed. Everything grows from first chapter. Whatever we established about anything that we know, it's all rooted in first chapter. And I want you to show you that seed. Okay, a hint. When he was talking about Chachma and Bina, okay, giving us a general concept that, guys, Chachma is Ayin, and he uses that expression, compared to Bina. But it is Yesh compared to Koach HaMaskil. Who remembers that sentence in the first chapter? Raise your hand. Remember that? Yeah? Yeah, okay, good. So then back then, it was all abstract. Okay, it's like it's a wood. And compared to Koach HaMaskil, it's Ayin. I'm sorry, it's Yesh. And compared to Bina, it's Ayin. So what are we talking about? What was that we were discussing that he needed to make that statement? Okay? And truly, why is it? So let's understand. Let's understand the relationship between Koach HaMaskil and the Chachma. What is Koach HaMaskil? What was that? I see.
Nafama says, very interesting concept. I've had numerous teachers who are smart but full of yesh, and it was difficult for me to learn from them. I do think it's a different yesh we're talking about there. You're talking about like a kind of an arrogance.
Okay, so let's think. What's the difference between Koach HaMaskil and the Chachma? What is the difference? What's Koach HaMaskil? Let's go. We're gonna make it a little bit interaction. A little interact. What's Koach HaMaskil? Is the Koach to conceptualize, meaning it's a power to conceptualize. Now, let's hypothetically imagine, I'm going to tell you, okay, we're going to do a brain surgery right now. Okay, we're going to find this krumim, right? These membranes that surround the Gimel Moichin. This is a definition of the physical space. And I'm going to inside open it. And I'm going to say, oh, here's a theory of relativity. Let's catch it. Let's take it out. No, right? Like, if I look at those krumim, I'm not going to find anything there. There's nothing there. Well, I mean, obviously there's some kind of structures, but I'm not going to find concepts there. The same way how I'm going to take a flintstone, cut it, and I'm going to find a spark, right? I'm not going to find the spark in a flintstone. However, it's a potential for a spark. The same way is Koach HaMaskil is a potential for a Chachma, okay? So meaning that if you open Koach HaMaskil, you cannot find a single concept there. But it's a potential for Haskalah. Now, at the same time, let me ask you, when it's already a Chachma, right? What Chachma is Yesh now? Why is it Yesh? Okay, I can't hear. We can't hear you. You want to unmute it?
Because of the concept. The concept now exists.
Exactly. It's a concrete.
A spiritual form.
Exactly. It's in a spiritual form, but it's a concrete concept. You see? Before it had unlimited potential of any concept. That's a state of ayin, meaning there's nothing there, but it's a potential. But now there's a specific concept already exists, right? It's a light bulb. It's like, oh, you understand? So that concreteness is yesh. It's a spiritual yesh. What are you going to touch? Like, okay, from my chachma, I'm going to like take out this little concept that's going to be like, I don't know, like a widget. No, but I could actually put it into a formula. It's short, It's like a little yud, right? That's why Chochmah, it's a little, but it's a yud already. It's something concrete. Whatever the concept may be. For example, now we're learning about the concept of relationship between Chochmah and Bina. This is something that I can actually enclose in words. It's already something. And that something is Yesh. Okay? So that's it. But it's Ruchni. Okay? Why is it remains Ruchni? That I don't lose it. Me teaching it to somebody else doesn't diminish it in its source. Okay? Meaning I'm not like losing my brain, like a piece of brain that I give it to somebody, like money. Okay? But in the time of me giving over, right? In the time of me transmitting that seichel, I can only be engaged in that particular thing, in that particular activity. You see where my limitation comes out? My limitations, it's more during the transmission of that concept. That's where I'm limited. But it's not going to be diminished by me. By me teaching it to somebody else, I don't lose it. It still remains within me. Okay? And then actually he says something also very beautiful, because the transmission of seichel, it's not that I give the actual seichel. Like when a poor person doesn't have money to buy bread, I have to give him actual physical money to buy him bread. Okay, but with seichel is different. With seichel, because we all have koach hamaskil, right? I am illuminating somebody else's brain so they discover it within themselves. You see? Therefore, it's called ruchni, because I'm not physically giving anything to anybody. Okay? I'm transmitting, I'm enlightening another person, right? So they could understand by themselves, because everybody uses their own mind. I'm not using your mind, right? When I teach, you using your own mind. So what am I doing? I'm revealing something through my mouth or through my thought process, or whichever way I'm transmitting it to you. Okay. And that illuminates your own brain. Okay. By the way, when we say illuminates, scientists actually discover that's exactly how it happens. It's electromagnetic field that's being literally lit up in our brain when this happens. Okay. And it's phenomenal, like to see it. It's like, it's literally light is created there. Okay. So, and then like, oh, you start understanding it and you create your own pathways. That's all. So now let's go back to our discussion, but it's still yesh. It's yesh in me. Okay. And I'm transmitting it. And because it is yesh in me, it has a limitation. Although it's ruchni. Although I'm not going to lose it. But at the time of my transmission, I am caught up in that hashpah. Okay? So with that, we're going to move forward with the 8th paragraph that talks about it. Okay.
It's almost like the internet has given it another dimension, which is that, okay, when you record it, you're caught up in it, but people can watch it when you're not caught up in it. I mean, recordings in general have added another spiritual dimension to it.
I mean, definitely, you know, the technology is an amazing, amazing mashal for everything what we speak. It's unbelievable. Okay, v'hine kol hanal nikra b'shem shefa. And behold, all of the above is called by the name shefa, flow. Okay. Aval b'chinas hashpa, or hu b'chinas hashpa mi-ayin-mi-yesh. But the aspect of the transmission, hashpa, of the or of the light, is a transmission between ayin-mi-yesh. Okay.
Mila, can you make it a little bit bigger? Maybe take the document tabs out.
Yeah, we could do that.
It doesn't make it bigger. Can you make it a bit bigger?
Yeah, big enough? Big enough.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, I think it's too big now. 1 second.
Yeah.
It's just my computer's a little slow. What did I do? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh.
Okay. Okay. אבל בחינס השפעה ובחינס השפעה מאין לא יש, right? But the light, okay, is being transmitted like Ayin Yesh. And how is it? And now he jumps back into Shefa. Okay. He's like, okay, we know about light, it's Ayin Yesh, but you know what? Let me explain you something about the Shefa. Okay, ki sechel harav nimshach letalmid miharav hayakolol b'muhusa tchilas hasechel harav b'hagbala k'moshu achshav. Right. The matter is that the intellect of the teacher, right, the seichel that he was trying to teach, okay, extends to the students from the teacher, was originally included in a teacher's own intellect, and it was limited. Okay. When we say limited, it doesn't mean that the concept was limited. That it was already concrete. There was a something there, right? There was a concrete concept. Except it was not seen or revealed as an independent entity because it was included within the essence of the teacher's intellect. Okay? Yeah, Emilia, I'm in the middle of something. Hey, please, you know what? Please. Okay. Now, except that it was not seen or revealed as an independent entity, right? Because Mekabel wasn't able to actually see it. Okay. It was hidden because the teacher didn't speak. So the fact that it was hidden from the Mekabel doesn't mean it didn't have a concrete shape or form within the teacher. Okay, which encompasses and contains many types of such intellectual concept, right? The brain of the teacher has thousands, maybe, I don't know, 100,000 concepts, okay? It was not revealed yet. So, but it doesn't mean that it's not a concrete. ונמצא, okay, ששכל נמשך לתלמיד היה נקרא בתחילה בעשת כלאוסה גם בשם יש מוגבל. And it flows that the intellect extended to the students what at first, at the time it was included in the brain, was also yesh, meaning there was a concrete chachma in the teacher's mind. Rak shaya behelem ba'at nigla. It was concealed and now it's revealed. Okay, v'zeu mi-yesh-mi-yesh. And this is from yesh-mi-yesh. Haynu shenimshach me'almoi k'moi shaya kolol ba'ashpa, b'mashpia. Right? That means it was Yesh-mi-yesh, and it was drawn down and manifested from its concealment the way it is by the mashpia. Okay, Shahaya Gamkin the B'chinas Yesh. By mashpia, it was also Yesh. So he makes sure that we understand that although this is something invisible, this like the intellect of the person, but it still already has a shape and form, but it's just concealed. But you see, when we are talking about the light, it's not like that. Okay. For example, the light of the shemesh, right? The light of the sun, the way it shines on earth. Now, when I studied this at first, and even now, simply because I'm not a scientist, what are we going to talk about it? It's, probably going to be on the level of imuna, right? We just take it the way it is because it's unknown, even to the scientists, Now we're talking about the ray of the sun, the way it was included in the sun. So who have been there? Who saw what's going on inside the sun? Nobody, besides God himself, right? So we're getting this knowledge, based on, the mystical teachings, and we just take it as is. So now, the light of the sun, the ray of the sun, the way it's included in the sun, it did not have any form, okay, it has now. meaning the way we know sun, it's very subjective to the people on earth. Okay, what happens above the atmosphere and what happens with the sun, the way it's included in the sun, we have no concept of. Therefore, what we know that the way the ray of the sun is included in the sun is like nothing. It's completely nullified. It's in the state of ayin. And therefore it does not have the limitation. You see, with seichel, the origin already limited, and therefore it comes out in a limited way. The mashpia is caught up in the process. Now, with a light, it's not like that, okay? Because in its origin, it's in the state of ayin. So when it comes out, it doesn't have that limitation. Okay, so now we a little bit start to dissect the first mashal in godliness that's given, which is the ray of the sun, okay? And the sun itself, meaning that relationship, okay? Only when it enters into the space of the world, okay, limitation is newly formed, meaning the limitation that it will start getting pertaining to its color and shape and all that stuff, right? That's because of the Makabel's limitation, which is the earth. Okay, according to the place where it dwells. Okay, likewise, when it shines through the window in different colors, okay, like I could have yellow windows, it's going to be yellow. Somebody else has green windows, it's going to be green. It's not because the light is like that. No, it's because the Makabel's windows are like that. Makabel's kalim are like that. That's why it dwells like that. It appears to the eyes of the beholder according to the colors upon which it rests. And it's all new because sun is not yellow, sun is not green, sun is not red. So why is it appears like that? Because that's how it shines through those kalim. This is why it appears like that. But in essence, the sun is not limited to these things. Okay? And all this is something new that did not exist at all. Okay? As it was included in its source. Right? In its source, the sun ray is not red or whatever else we perceive it. For then it was unlimited and abstract from any color, from all colors, meaning sunlight does not have any color. Right? And it is self-understood that even when it becomes limited by space and visible in color, the limitation and appearance are not in the essence of the ray itself. Right? That now because the sun is shining through my window in a color red, doesn't mean that in its essence it changes the color. It does not. It remains as is. Just now, when it's shining through my windows, it takes the appearance of red. And it's really a phenomenal concept. And please, from now on, before davening, take a few minutes just to think about that. Just to think. And it's really like, it's like very, very expanding concept to think about, about that limitation that the sunlight takes on. But it remains unlimited in its source, meaning it doesn't affect, right? Like, can you imagine, like, sunlight having its own identity and going to the sun and complaining? It's like, oh, I don't know what to do. From now on, I've been shining into Mila's windows, through this green colors. Now I'm limited. No, it's ridiculous thought, right? It never happens. In its source, the same sun ray, it just continues being whatever that is, right? So it's not limited by the expression. It is right now being caught up. And you know what? Moreover, the sun ray could shine in mine and Naria's windows at the same time in two different colors. Right? One color is going to be like this, and the other color is going to be like that because it shines through two different windows at the same time, meaning it is not limited. Why he has this lack of limitation? Okay? Because in its origin, it's ayin. That's why when it goes out of its origin, it remains unlimited. Okay, it only takes color and shape because of the makabel. Okay, but it's in essence, it's unlimited.
Mila, would it be too confusing at this point to talk about outer space and why it's dark?
Let's just finish yeah, it's a very long paragraph, and I really want to finish it because it's the same concept. I wouldn't want to schlep it. But you're right. I mean, if we travel in space, we do not see, we don't see sunlight. Right? I mean, we see from all the photos, at least from, NASA posts. Okay. Right? But only it is revelation relative to the vessels of that received the ray, right? Meaning us, the ziv. We perceive the ziv. We don't know how shemesh is look, right? So that's what it is. There is or, and then there's ziv. Or is the way sun sends the ray out, radiates. Ziv, it's the way we perceive it. And it's very different. And actually in communication, a lot of times we say that. Let's say, a wife asks the husband, dear, what time are you going to come home for supper? Okay. She just wants to know by when the supper should be ready, right? And the guy, let's say he had, controlling mother, okay? His perception is shaped in a specific way. Okay, he takes it in as if she's trying to control him. You see the different things? Meaning the or was pure, just curiosity. What time you're going to be, what time the supper should be ready, right? But the ziv shapes through the personal reality of that particular person, right? And that already goes through interpretations, right? And that's already, she's trying to control me. And that happens all the time. Okay. For example, you are in a subway and you happen to look at the sign where, let's say, African American was standing, right? Just like, completely, sometimes we just like lose our mind and we'll look at somebody. Okay. Or you're disagreeing with somebody. Okay. Just because you feel that whatever the person is saying is ridiculous. Okay. Now, the other person, okay, might get hurt and might interpret it that you're trying to diminish them if they have a certain complexes of inferiority. And you simply just want to hold you just want to share it, right? So meaning your or could be with one kavana, and the perception of another person is being shaped through the ziv. All right, so we need to really understand this dimension, and it's the same with godliness, right? And it's the same with the light of the sun. The sun sends us a ray. Okay, the way it's going to be perceived is going to be very different based on the kalim of the makabel, which is right now it's us, right? We live on earth, we enjoy sun, and we have our own experiences about sun. Okay, and this is the key word here, please remember. But in itself, it remains simple, pashut, even at the time of its diffusion, even when it manifests in a particular situation, in a particular window, in a particular shape, it remains simple in its source. Okay? Now, do you feel like a little bit how it answers the questions of the philosophers? Right? Because philosophers, remember the two questions. Question number one, how can something unlimited create a limited being? Now we understand that something, even as a physical sun, could exist, okay, and create at the same time, and not being affected in its source. You see how something like this could happen, right? The second thing is, okay, how it cannot be changed. How Hashem doesn't changes even when he creates the world, right? The sun ray in its origin doesn't changes, although it shines, okay, in this world. Anyway, so just keep it in mind, like, in a way he alludes. Okay, right? Just as it was in the beginning when it was included in its source. And therefore it can shine in two places and appear in two colors simultaneously. And this is the key word, right? Hashem is not caught up in just saving the Jews, okay, during the Yetzias Mitzrayim. He actually was saving the Jews and punishing the Mitzrayim at the same time. It's unlimited. Like if I'm, let's say, feeding my kids, I cannot go and I don't know, and open the door. This is because I'm in physical limitation. But Hashem is not like that, right? Masha'enkin, Shamsha, okay, Al kol almin nicha, right? As the saying goes, the sun rests on all of the worlds, right? Whatever, it's just like it's everywhere, right? It's not, limited. And therefore, this influence, right? This hashpa of the sunlight may be called Ayin-mi-yesh. You understand why? Not because the sun is ayin. The sun is not ayin. The sun is a very big yesh that we have in this world. I guess the biggest yesh so far, right? Is the sun, right? But the hashpa, the way it's given to the world, is unlimited because there's no concrete sun ray that dwells in the sun at the time of its shining. It's in complete bittul. Yes. And why is it? Meaning that the essence of the ray, as it was included in its source, with ayin and nullified, it doesn't have a matzias there. Okay, so therefore it has this unlimited properties even after it leaves the space of the sun. Okay, and even after it spreads forth, it's remained abstracted from limitations and from the aspect of visible form of color. Only through contractions, that's called a tzimtzum. Right now, it has to fit in to the 7 layers of the atmosphere, and so on and so forth. Then it takes on a shape of a limited being, okay? In order to clothe itself within the world space in various colors. Thereby something new is formed in it, right? But it appears as a yesh only relative to the receiver. And this is the key word. Okay? It appears to be yesh for the receiver, for us. And we're going to see that. And I would just mamish, like, I don't know, like write it on your desk somewhere. So it actually enters because many ma'amarim, many Chassidus build around that it appears to the Mekablim. And this is the key word because you see, Hashem's essence fully revealed in this world. As it's in Atzilus and higher than Atzilus and in every other world, B'Shaveh, it's equally revealed. So why in some, places it's more felt and all that stuff? It's simply because of the Mekablim. We are wired to receive in a certain way. But this wiring that we undergo as creation is not in a total limiting way, right? Because then the tzimtzum could be kipshute. But the tzimtzum is not kipshute, right? The tzimtzum, it only appears to the eye. And when we change our Kli Kabbalah, it will start appearing to us in a different way, more. The more we prepare our vessel, the more we empty out our own ego, our own limited understandings of what Hashem is and what He's not. Okay? And more we embody the essence of what Chassidus teaches us about Hashem, the more we are capable of receiving that awareness, and that's how we expand and grow. Okay? And that's okay. Allah is chatush be'etzem kanal, right? But it's not newness in its essence, meaning in the essence of the light, as stated above. And this is sufficient for the understanding. Okay. Any questions so far? Because he said vadal, and that should be vadal. Okay.
So I'm thinking about like the physical creations. Is there only one sun, or is every star a sun?
Any illumination. But so far, for the sake of this discussion, he brings two mashalim for this light, right? One mashal of the sun and the other mashal of the candle. Okay, there's a reason why he does it. He's going to explain why we need two mashalim, why one mashal is not enough.
Because I mean, to me, this is really fascinating because understanding this, you can see how people worship the sun, because it was very close to what the unlimited part of it, the part that it's not diminished and all of that. So I can give the idol worshippers some space that it made sense for them to do that.
Well, for sure. And we have to understand that the original idol worshippers, right? If we could say this, original idol worshippers, right? It's funny as it sounds. Okay, original idol worshippers, right? They were not denying existence of God. They just believe in autonomy. They believe that Hashem truly delegated. Okay, but Hashem is a control freak, if we could say that, right? He does not live, it's even like a leaf, come on, like you have to be macromanaging everything, right? So macromanagement is actually coming from Hashem. It's coming all the way from up there. I mean, you can't just leave a leaf, just to blow the trajectory and all that. I mean, come on, it's Hashgacha Pratis. It's a macromanagement. What is Hashgacha Pratis? Yeah, I mean, people shouldn't be, offended, delegate and trust. I mean, to some extent he does it, but at the same time, he's always there in a creation. Mm-hmm. So original idol worshippers, they were not denying the fact that God exists. Mm-hmm. They're not denying it. They knew that God existed, but they believed that the God, what?
Even nowadays, I mean, the biggest, someone who calls themselves an atheist, everybody gravitates towards light. The sun is the source of light in our physical world. And the plants needed to grow. And we just feel good when it's a sunny day and when we go. So I don't know. It's intuitive. Anyway, I'm not trying to convert anybody to worship the sun, but I'm just making that association.
Miriam, what do you mean by it? Would it be acceptable to take consciousness expanding substances to perceive Hashem with more sensitivity? I'm not sure if I understand your question.
What I understand is she's saying that you change the vessel. When you take a drug, it alters your brain. It changes you're basically altering the vessel so that you can receive more light.
Yeah, for sure.
But the problem with that is that because you've altered it chemically, so then you don't have the vessel to absorb it. It's like you don't have the vessel to bring it down and integrate it into your life.
Why?
Because it's altered by a substance, meaning you haven't worked to create and change your vessel.
Expanding substances, you mean like drugs, psychedelics, and stuff like that? Oh, that's what it means. I just didn't understand expanding substance. I mean, yeah, for sure, because then it's not betmidas, because your keli didn't change. It's you just shut down certain mechanism of your brain that filter, so you kind of put them to sleep. Right? Meaning like you put the guards to sleep. But then when they wake up, it's the same process. They didn't change. They're still gonna, the mechanics of the brain didn't change. So that's why there's this addiction. Yeah. Okay. So without, yeah, I mean, but it's a beautiful concept, and we're going to be dwelling on it for a very long time. Okay, because as he moves forward, he's going to add more and more content.
So Mila, what you were saying is that the only mashalim to bring out this concept is the sun and a candle?
No, there are many mashalim, meaning there are four mashalim that he told us, right? Is the sun, candle, the way soul enlivens the body, right? As if anybody has any like it's, we can only look at our own body, and then the koach hapal benifal, right? It's the power of cause and effect, right? The power of activated being, right? And
But
activate.
those are abstract. The sun is concrete. Like we can
Well,
recognize.
it's also abstract. I mean, the only concrete I could tell you would be the candle that you could touch, you could smell, you could, feel the heat of it. But the sun, who traveled to the sun and checked out, is the ray is in limited form there or in an unlimited form there? Like,
But we see. I
that's a
know that
godly
we're
knowledge.
told that you're not supposed to stare at the sun because it could be damaging. It's too much for us. But we
Nobody
see
could
it.
stare at the sun. Nobody saw the sun. I'm sorry. Nobody saw the sun. The way it is. It even
Okay.
says that the sun is black inside.
Well, we don't see it up
The
close
essence of
because
the
it's
sun
far
is black
away.
in Kabbalah. Yeah, exactly. We don't have no experience about the sun. We only see through the prism of the world what the sun is. And all this, walking around with glasses and all that, right? This is still through the prism of the world.
But that's
During
what
the whatever.
that's what Hashem. That's how Hashem set it up. This is what we were meant to see.
For sure. But then we're not objective viewers here.
Right.
Right? We all looking through the keli of the world and through our own keli. Yeah, let's say a blind person, there's no concept of the sun. Only his skin feels the sun, but his eyes, he has no idea what is it.
Mm-hmm.
He just feels warm. Right?
But is there anything that we see objectively?
No.
I wouldn't think so.
Exactly. So everything is through the prism of our own understanding, our own senses, and all that. That's exactly why we need to be focusing on Memale. Because Sovev is the objective perception. So we cannot form an objective perception if we don't understand the subjective self. Because what is objective? We're all going to study how we understand things, right? And through this process, okay, we're going to refine our kalim to receive a more objective reality. Again, the key word is more objective reality. And then that will be a stepping stone to a new awareness. And then we're going to study that. And that will become a more concrete, a more solid, and a stepping stone for something greater. Okay, so we're always going to be in this ever expanding thing. I mean, are we really ever going to be like the most, I guess at one point, the only objective reality we experience is the reality of our essence, whatever that means. Because our essence is from Das Elyon perspective, right? Even higher than Das Elyon. It's this it's knowing Hashem from before Hashem created the world and even thought of it. I mean, this is like, whoa, right? And this is a beauty of a Jew, that we have that relationship with God. Okay? As creator relationship to God. Okay, whatever, we going a little bit off the topic, because there are 7 awarenesses that we go through. Okay, and that's when we evolve. Okay, okay, v'nimtza shemi'ayin, okay, leyesh hu chiluk b'bchinas yesh leyesh b'beis dvarim, right? And it flows in the whatever hashpa from ayin leyesh versus yesh leyesh. Okay, there is a difference in 2 things. Okay, Aleph, 1. She'ein harach mimahut hashefa legabe hashpa, right? That mi'ayin leyesh, there is no comparison between the essence of the flow and the mashpia, right? And the source, meaning the flow could come as limited, but the mashpia is unlimited. So that's a question number 1 of the philosophers is answered, right? Because they see things mi-yesh le-yesh. Therefore, they think it's like the Rav and Talmud, right? Because by the Rav is in yesh, therefore the hashpa, they were very sophisticated, by the way, to come up with this question. Ad she'ein tofes makom klal v'mashpia. To the extent that it does not occupy any place within the source itself. The sun is not thinking how it's gonna, I don't know, enlighten Naria's windows, right? It shines. Okay, and whatever happens, happens. It's not caught up in the act. וגם בגוף השפע אין ארוך משפיע המתקבלת במקבל. אין ארוך משפע המתקבלת במקבל. Right? The 2, now the shefa itself. 1 was compared to the makabel, mashpia, I'm sorry. The other one is the shefa itself. There's no comparison between the influence as received by the recipient, which is limited and close in the form and color, relative to the essence of the influence as it emanates from the source, right? Meaning the shefa itself is different. The fact that the mashpia is not caught up now in it, that's number 1. He shines. The second, the shefa itself, okay, the way it relates to the essence, it remains untouched. Okay, it's just enclosed itself into the kalim of the mashpia, of the makabel. Okay, which is separate from the limitation, okay, from any revealed form of color. Now, but we don't see that unlimitedness, preserved unlimitedness. Right? So pertaining to yesh le-yesh, there is relation between the essence of the recipient, right? Okay, of the essence of its source. Okay, right? And all the more so relations between the influence and the influencer. Okay, therefore, it occupies place within the influencer for this limitation. So because there is aroch, because they're on more or less on the same level, there is compatibility between mashpia and makabel. Therefore, it has that influence. So that he must be enclosed within it at the time of the influence. To the point that he cannot simultaneously engage elsewhere at that moment, as mentioned above, and this is enough to understand, right? So meaning, because mashpia and mekabel have compatibility, it's maybe not the right word. It's meaning it's they're on the same level in a way, meaning both of them are creations. Okay, so therefore, the hashpah comes in a limited way. My mashpia has to be, has that limitation. It has to be, cannot be in elsewhere at that moment. Okay, but it's not like that with Hashem. Hashem and creations have nothing to do with each other. Okay, so therefore, Hashem could create and creation could exist, and it doesn't change Hashem in any way. As if nothing happened, as if creation doesn't even take place within Hashem. The same way, our sun shines in my windows in a color blue, and it has nothing to do with the essence of the sun, the way rays in the sun. Meaning there is this, there is this line, which we call creation, right? Where once the line passes through it, there is existence, but above it, there's nothing. Yeah?
Mila, my question is, when the light shines through that yellow, like the green window, I understand that my kelim, my eyes, perceive it as green. And I understand that in its essence, there's no change in the essence of the light, but like in its source, but does the light remain the same? The light that is outside of the window and inside of the window, does something change in the light? Or he's saying there's nothing changes in the light. It's just that I perceive the light as being green now, but there's absolutely no change in the light.
Mm-hmm. There is no change in the light.
There's no change in the light, not in the light itself and not in its source. It's just that I perceive it now as being green.
Now, I'm going to shatter a little bit of the kalim, right? Then in Tanya, the Rebbe says that this mashal is not a good mashal. It's a perfect mashal, actually, but it's not a good mashal in one thing. That in the light, right, it travels outside of the sun.
Right.
But in the nimshal, nothing travels outside of God.
Mm.
So it's even more confusing. Not confusing, but it's even more profound, It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like nothing travels outside. So what shines in you is the sun itself. But it has to, can you imagine what sun traveling into an earth? There will be no earth whatsoever. It's gonna burn in a second. There's no keli the world has that could contain the intensity of the sun. We can't even look at the sun without those special glasses, right? Without damaging our eyes. Can you imagine? It's like, what's the distance of the sun to the earth? And we can't handle its intensity. And in Parshas, Vayera, Hashem took, the sun out of its shields, and so nobody's going to get out of the houses. So So that's already through the shield. We see the way we experience sun is through the shield of the sun, whatever that means. So can you imagine the intensity of Hashem's revelation to the world will be? So it's a big chesed that Hashem has a tzimtzum. Because then there's no us. We can't exist. If Hashem reveals himself, knocks through your window, with its full intensity, there'll be no us, because who are we? But the good news, okay, that the essence of our neshama has absolutely no problem with the full revelation of the essence of God, because it's one and the same thing.
Then if that's the case, then how is that tzimtzum?
No, there is no tzimtzum.
There's no tzimtzum.
No.
Then why don't we
Tzimtzum is not kipshutei.
then why
Tzimtzum
don't
is
we
not in literal sense.
why don't we explode with godliness?
Kipshuta, that means that it's not literal. It's only from the perspective of the
Of the
makabel.
makabel.
That's what we're learning here.
And
Hashem,
that's, by the way, the machlokes between the Gra and the Baal Shem Tov, in essence. If you look like what was this whole machlokes, why there was so, so opposition into Alter Rebbe's teachings, is the understanding of this. That Gra believed that there was Tzimtzum Kipshuta. But Gra was a big makubal also, like he was not Chaim Yankel.
But then why do we call it the Pintele Yid, which is just like Pintele is a little tiny point, which is
because we want to show the potential about it. What we're going to call a groise Yid, you want to call.
So the Pintele Yid doesn't refer to necessarily the etzem of the neshama?
It is. It's a pintle. It's a point from which everything grows.
Like a seed.
Yeah, everything. It's a point that's indestructible. It's from this point that Chiyas HaMesim is going to happen. Because there was no death in the first place.
the problem is if you reveal the Pintele Yid, then you can also limit it, you can destroy part of it. So there's that kind of conflict that it has to remain concealed, as it were, so that it can remain pure.
No, but I disagree with you, Nuria, because there is no impurity in the consciousness of the Pintele Yid.
Nachon, but
That's
if you bring it to consciousness, then maybe it's not really this discussion of how that works.
So would that mean that in the world of Geula, the Pintele Yid would not be in danger? It would be, its purity would be protected.
It's never in danger. Pintele Yid is never in danger. There is nothing that could touch the Pintele Yid, and that's why Moida Ani is this first consciousness that we, wake up with, right? That's our essence being revealed. That's why Moida Ani said with two medike hands, and the Rebbe says, why? There's a specific reason why. I mean, what's the big deal? Wash your hands. Then say it. It says, no, it's the level being revealed that's above Tuma. There is no Tuma. There is awareness that's above Tuma. There is no Tuma that could touch it. It's untouchable. It's indestructible. We can't do anything about it. This is the place. This is our essence. This is the place you could rewrite your past. You could change the past. Why? Because it's above time. There's no timeline there. It's hard for us to understand that such a thing exists because nothing that we know fits into that description.
So
right?
But in the world the way it is now, I mean, people go on Mitzrayim and reach out to Jews who have it where it's totally concealed, and their mission is to bring it out. So it is in the world.
That's exactly why people do tshuva. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's concealed because there's no keli for it at the moment. What is the keli for it? Is a Jewish heart.
A heart.
There is a keli for it.
Not mitzvos. A heart. The heart.
But all of it, it's higher than mitzvahs.
Okay.
It's the connection of God because the mitzvahs are the ratzon of Hashem. This is higher than the ratzon of Hashem. It's a tainug of Hashem. When Hashem enjoys the Yid as is. Because in that consciousness, there is no sin.
So our mission is to build and nourish kalim to hold what already exists.
Yeah, for sure. We're not creating anything. We are preparing the body to accept it. And our Atzma and the Shama could reveal itself even in a very, very, I don't know, sinner's soul. Nothing holds from the Atzma of the Neshama to be revealed. And that's Contrasei Spilus in the beginning. Like we started already learning it, so please, you could, that's a second or third class that we went through it, and Rabbi Hillel made it very, very clear that there is two concealments. Concealment number one is because there's an obstacle, and therefore it cannot be revealed. And the second concealment is that there's no vessel that could hold the revelation. That's why it's concealed, not because it is of any obstacle. That's why we see that the biggest sinners, when this etzem and the shama is being touched, they were told like to convert or something like that, like we don't need to go far. I mean, you listen to these hostages that were just recently released. It's like mind-boggling. These guys are not religious. They're not coming from religious backgrounds. So it's not coming from an experience or brainwashing or learning. That's already brain. This is above the brain. They don't even understand why they said what they said, why they did what they did. So when the essence of the neshama is revealed, even a ignorant person in the middle of, Gaza tunnel, has those, experiences, because there is nothing that could conceal that. It just doesn't reveal on a constant basis. It just comes as a baraka mavrik, it just comes as a lightning and retracts back because there's nothing that can hold on to it in this world. So that's why these experiences are usually short, because there's no achiza in the body. And that's why, all the hostages, most of the hostages, I heard this one hostage, I forgot his name, where he says like he misses those moments. Like, hello, you miss the moments to be in the Gaza tunnel? Like, hello, like what's wrong with you? No, but the revelation they had there in this darkness was so powerful that when they came back into ordinary life, so quote, if they could, have the ordinary life after these experiences, it's like, where is it? Like I'm missing, because now they're working with the koiches agluyim. They're working with the revealed powers of the soul, the mind, the consciousness, the feelings, this and that. Okay, so, but they crave that experience where it was a complete light, where they did not see, they basically experienced something before the tzimtzum. If we want to talk, in our terms, they experienced God before the tzimtzum, and that's like phenomenal. And they're like, oh, where is it? I want it now. And now they would have to work very hard. At least they have the experience, they know what what they tasted it.
Mila, could you just very simply explain what you were saying about the difference between the Alter Rebbe's outlook on it and the Gra?
The Baal Shem Tov.
Yeah, it came through the Baal Shem Tov, yeah. But yeah, I mean, in Hashgacha Pratis, there's a whole thing with the Baal Shem Tov where, it's to be honest, I really don't understand what does this mean, Tzimtzum Kipshuta. It's a very scary reality. So, and where there is that separation between believing in Tzimtzum Kipshuta and where it's, already an idolatry. I don't know that fine line. I haven't studied the subject deep enough. Because
what
Avodah
is the
Zarah,
meaning Tzimtzum Kibshuta?
Tzimtzum Kipshuta means Hashem actually retracted himself, not his light, but himself. So Tzimtzum Lo Kipshuta is meaning that Hashem created the reality, which is our world, And he retracted his unlimited light and made it limited, okay, in a space which is called the world. Okay. So that's lo kipshuto, meaning his essence is still very present here, okay? And he's consciously involved in every single detail of the world, whatever, to the fullest extent. That's Ashgacha Pratis, okay? And he created a system where a person could actually climb out of this limited perception of Tzimtzum and meet Hashem in a more expanded reality, okay? Meaning essence to essence. And because Hashem Kol Yachol, he could do Kol Yachol, he could do everything. That's why he was able to create that system. Now, for the same sake, there are some Mekubalim that believed that Hashem created this world and he actually retracted himself. So I don't understand, this is just my limitation, how is that even possible for Hashem to do this? And where is the borderline between believing in this and remain within the framework of Yiddishkeit? Okay? And when Avodah Zarah begins, I don't know that line. You know, for some reason, I just never delved into it. It didn't make, because, like I don't have an experience working like, you know what I mean? Like outside of Chabad. So I never studied the works of the other Mekubalim where the belief of the Gra exists.
Why would it be Avodah Zarah?
Well, because if Hashem retracts himself, that means he's not the one who's creating it. Well, he's creating it, but he's not personally involved. And if he's not, so who is? So we're giving power to another entity to so-called run the world. That's the beginning origins of Avodah Zarah. That means there is another power, or at least autonomy, that runs the world.
Okay.
That's the beginning origins of Avodah Zarah. They believe that Hashem exists, but he gave the power. Yeah, Musa, are you stepping out? Oh, you gave everything? Oh, okay, good. Sorry. So there is a belief that, where early Avodah Zarah is coming from. They don't believe, they don't believe in Hashem's existence. They believe in the Creator, but they believe that, Hashem gave over, the power to do chesed to Malach Michael, the power to do gvura to Malach Gabriel. You understand? So they are these so-called malachim, angels, okay? And since they have their own autonomy, why bother, to talk to king? Let's just talk to ministers. Do you understand? Like, let me bribe the minister. Therefore, the Greek mythology started with this whole thing, and, there's a god of this, and there's a god of that, there's a god of that, and then there's a big god. And he's like, I don't know, he's on vacation.
I think this philosophy is very present in non-Orthodox Judaism. For instance, the rabbi that wrote the bestseller When Bad Things Happen to Good People, I mean, he has a lot of good concepts, but the idea is that if there's evil and bad things happening in the world, like, we have to fix it. It's not something that's from Hashem. So it can be very confusing.
I mean, that's why, the answer for Geula consciousness is Chassidus. That's why, yeah, but not now. Give me a few minutes, okay? So that's why, it's like, that's where the whole fight of the Alter Rebbe was, why this knowledge has to be revealed to masses. Because there was a lot of misunderstandings and misperceptions in regular people like me and you, I mean, if big scholars had those debates, I mean, like, what are we doing here? So Alter Rebbe felt that, hello, and this is the mashal he gave, right? Even within the students of the Maggid, there was this debate. So leave alone misnagdim, like, let's just leave them alone for a second, right? even the disciples of the Chevraya Kadisha, 120 students of the Maggid, meaning the Alter Rebbe, I'm sorry, the Baal Shem Tov had 60 students, and the Maggid of Mezrich had 120 students, meaning very, very close disciples. And now, after the passing of Rabbi Nachum Mendel Horodok, right? Or not passing, but like when he moved to Eretz Israel, that's where the Alter Rebbe officially took on the leadership. And that's where the writing of Tanya and the need for it. And come on, I mean, Alter Rebbe's kid was cursed because of all this. This famous encounter that the Mittel Rebbe writes about. And where there was a whole machlokes. I don't remember. There was two tzaddikim that came to the Alter Rebbe.
Who was cursed?
The Mittel Rebbe's son, the Alter Rebbe's son, Reb Moshe, if you remember.
Oh,
it was like
wow.
this whole. It's a famous story. I'll try to find it and publish it. It's in the stories of Tanya, where they came to the Alter Rebbe. There was a very, very heated discussion between, that and them very opposing the publishing of Tanya. Yes, they were very much opposing the printing of Tanya, and they came, and the Mittel Rebbe actually, I believe, fainted because he heard all the heated discussion and all that. And during that time, I believe Reb Moshe was like a small child. Whoever stepped out, he got cursed or something. I'll get the details of it. It's a very scary story. But yeah, and the whole Kitrug, the Alter Rebbe and the Rebbetzin Devorah Leah, and there was a lot of opposition, even within the holiness, for this to be revealed. But Alter Rebbe still revealed it because he felt that's what will revive the shock where the Bnei Israel were, and the famous mashal that he gave about, the prince who is, ill, and the jewel of the crown, the most important, jewel of the crown has to be crushed and has to be given to the Jewish people. And we actually see that. I mean, with the Chabad movement, look how many Bali Chuvas came in, and Chabad is being all over the world and doing phenomenal things, that unthinkable things. If we see that, right? It's just this amazing
Okay, Mila, I think we're at the top of the hour, so
yeah.
Let's call it a day for now. And B'ezrat Hashem, I'll see everybody next week. And
so I think if we could do a little homework, is that in the chart, right, of two types of hashpa, we could fill in the or. So if we could do that, right? I'm gonna share the and just to meditate, just to contemplate about the two differences that he mentions in a text. Okay, between how it's Yesh-mi-yesh versus Ayin-mi-yesh, and what is the or? What is the parameters of light? Because now we're really starting the Hizbonos. Like now, that's it. Now it's for real. I know. Okay, so use this, use this opportunity to really compare and contrast Yesh-mi-yesh, Ayin-mi-yesh. What are and the more you're going to bring it into your conscious mind, the more you're going to speak it. This is your Bina already. Remember, the Bina is bringing down. What's going to happen at the same time? The light of Hashem travels in two directions at the same time. Remember, the more you would want to speak it, the more your brain is going to go up and up and up, try to grasp deeper. Okay, so don't be afraid. Maybe, you know what? If you have time, you have the ability, write an essay. Just write it in your own words. Whatever he's saying, explain it to everybody in the group. If you could write an essay, just write it. Whichever way, there's not right or wrong. Maybe you could write an essay in a way of of some kind of drawing, some kind of diagram, whatever that may be. Like, this is the physical shefa. This is, the spiritual shefa. This is Yesh-mi-yesh. Okay, this is how they different in two ways. Yeah, and it will get it out, that information out of you, and you put it on a paper. That itself is a huge breakthrough that you would need to, and read the paragraph as many times you need it, 10 times, 20 times, whatever you need it in order to create this paper. Okay. Much atzlacham. Thank you. And
Thank you.
Mira and Maria.
Thank you very much.